Well, firstly, can I welcome you to this last meeting of the Town Centre and Events Committee of this calendar year. But we are going to take a 2-minute silence on behalf of the Duke of Edinburgh and the Prince of Wales, and the Town Clerk will keep time and he will tell you when it's finished. So if we all please go on mute and then respect this moment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. In which case we'll move into the agenda, and thank you for that moment. We'll move into the agenda, which is apologies for absence.
We have apologies from Town Councillor Terry Bloomfield and County Councillor Warren White.
Thank you very much, and we'll record those apologies as said. Declarations of interest, item 2 under the Localism Act 2011. Is anybody feels there's any declarations of interest? I should imagine not.
No.
Thank you very much. Which moves us swiftly to the minutes of the last council meeting on the 8th of February. Is there any questions or queries about those minutes as we affirm them as a correct record?
Happy to agree on.
Is that common consent?
Yep.
Thank you very much. That's a relief. We'll move on to the action list. Before we go into the action list, the town clerk has an update on item 12.8/75/20. We've been in communication today over the skate park consultation because it's been a concern to members. So we sought an update today, and we've been refurbished with update. And I'll leave the town clerk to read that out, and he will circulate it after the meeting.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So Robin's spoken to the relevant cabinet member from Buckinghamshire Council, and I've now got a reply from the relevant officer. So as we know, they're scheduled to do work on the skate park to redo it over the summer, which means it wouldn't be available over the summer, most of the summer holidays. So we'd asked about the possibility of that being delayed to enable the skate park to be available over the summer holiday. And the response, which we'll circulate, is the skate park delivery will continue to follow the project timeline that's forwarded and to you and other stakeholders. I understand under this works programme, it is due to be installed during school summer holidays, which isn't ideal, but I'd rather see it delivered then than risk potential delays, e.g. due to the lack of an available contractor, installation window, and all the weather, which could push it into next year. There is also the condition of the existing skate park to consider, which for some years now has required ongoing costly repairs, which I want to reduce, which are more likely than not with the existing skate park is in use. And lastly, a lot of people, including myself, will be excited to see the start of the construction period, knowing that the new skate park is actually getting delivered rather than to be informed of another delay.
Thank you very much, Town Clerk. I see Councillor Harvey's first with his name. I'll take Councillor Harvey.
Yeah, thanks for the update, Town Clerk. Obviously, it's disappointing. It's disappointing that it was scheduled to happen during the summer holidays in any case, of course, but I don't know whose decision that was. And obviously, I suggested a few days ago that maybe we could think about delaying it, but obviously that's not now possible. I understand the reasons why, logistics and project planning and so on. But can I suggest that perhaps in our response to that message, we say quite emphatically that the last thing we want is for the escape park to be kind of cordoned off, as it must be, of course, and for then no work to occur, because that would be crushingly disappointing to young people to see their skate park not in use and nothing happening to it. Can we get some assurance that it'll only be fenced off, as I say, it must do, if the work is actually proceeding? We cannot have a situation whereby it's fenced off and it just sits there doing nothing. And I'm also a little bit concerned about the children's play area next to the skate park. Have arrangements been put in place to ensure that that play park at least can still be used by younger children who are not really skaters, but nonetheless, it's a well-used skate park. Children's play park. I walk past it on a regular basis. So I think those two assurances need to be in place. Clearly, there's going to be an issue about getting vehicles in and out, materials and everything else. And I hope that obviously arrangements are in place to ensure the safety of passers-by, which includes me, declare an interest, as it were. So we need to make sure that is the case. So if in the response, can I propose that those three matters are fully addressed? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harvey. Is there anybody else wish to say anything on the skate park before we agree the request from Councillor Harvey that we insist that it doesn't get fenced off if there's no work taking place? I do know there's been no correspondence respect to the play area being closed at the same time, and there's never been any suggestion about that, but I think John's right to raise it as a concern in the correspondence rather than have to raise it at a latter stage and then have a further correspondence. Has Councillor Donoghue got anything to say on it, as I know she was involved in the onset of these discussions with the young people, before we move that forward?
Thank you, Chairman. No, I agree wholeheartedly that things only need to be fenced off if they're going to actually be working on a I'd imagine that they would anyway, to be fair. They're going to be bringing in a lot of materials and diggers and all sorts. So I'd imagine that health and safety is their first priority, especially with knowing that there is a children's play park next door to it. So, I echo John's concerns, but I think that they're professionals and they probably will have it all tied down.
Thank you for that. Are we agreed that we'll make that response then through the town clerk, and but we will say that after the amount of time that young people have been waiting for this change, there is a positive in the fact that it's actually finally going to be delivered. and I did meet Councillor Donoghue and Councillor Harvey and Amanda down there with the young people, and that was one of the things that they were most frustrated about, the non-delivery of the project. So all things being equal, it's going to be delivered. Let's hope it is delivered. So I would agree those actions.
Yeah.
Thank you. I return now back to the action list. Is there any other questions on the action list from members? I'll give you a minute because we took quite a little time on that. I think most of it's pretty much on the agenda, but there may be things members have come forward where they want to raise. Nothing. Well, the only thing I would say is obviously the one that stands out to us, which will have to be progressed at some point, is item 7, which is the 887/19, which I know Councillor Strain Clark would be interested in, as it's twinning, as she was the mayor at the time when we first twinned with Move-O. So clearly we need to, as COVID hopefully opens up, and in Europe it's in a different situation than we are presently. So we'll keep that on the agenda. And can I ask, sadly we're losing Councillor Strain Clark as a councillor who's been a member for many years, that we, in a note, at least keep Councillor Strain Clark involved in correspondence updates on that, out of respect to the fact that she twinned us with Move-O. Would that be appropriate? Thank you. So there's nothing.
Yeah, please do. Thank you, Robin.
I think we'll have it in the minutes so that you get a note, Christine. I think that's the least we can do. Is there anything else on the action list? I'd just like to, before we move into item 5, if there's no, I'd just like to personally record our thanks to Councillor Bloomfield, who's not only been a chairman of this committee, he's been a vice chairman of the committee to 2 chairmen, and a chair himself, and he's put a lot of work into events and has been a fantastic support to the office at all times. And at every time, whenever there was an event, Terry would be there actually working hard with Andy and other people actually on these events. And I think we should record our thanks to him, and maybe as he's standing down, it's appropriate to say this, he'll be sorely missed. And can we, after the election, send I know it sounds something, but I think we should send him a letter of thanks from the committee for all the work that he's done in. Would that be a reasonable action?
Yeah.
I think that, can be addressed from the town clerk to him. I think that's, the amount of times I've been to events and the amount of times that he's been there. He's worked with on the dog event with Councillor Donoghue and different events, and even the Good Endings Fair with John. He's always been there, always in the background, never wanting to curry favour, and he's been a fantastic support to this committee. So I wanted to get that in. He's not here tonight, so he can't be embarrassed, because he's a very modest man. Which brings us on to item 5, which the town clerk will update us on.
Thank you, Chair. So today, the Tourist Information Centre has opened in the town centre. Shops are back open, and that's outside this committee. Lacehall Centre's also open. Shop mobility will be open on Saturday, and markets will. So the market will be open fully tomorrow. What that actually means is we'll have one more stall. So the card and stationery store will be back tomorrow. That means the market will be up to full capacity with the current distance we have to keep between the stalls. So until we're able to bring stalls closer together, we can't add anything to it. But the market is doing very well, all things considered. Russell's done a really good job of getting good stalls in. And this Saturday, the flea market will reopen as well. So we'll be pushing that on social media. Do encourage your friends and relatives to come into town and party.
Brilliant.
Well, thank you, Town Clerk, for that positive update. Have members got anything they wish to say on that, in the sense that it's been a long time since we've had something quite so positive to say in the town?
That's good. Brilliant. Well done.
Would members agree, following on from the comments from the town clerk about the Tourist Information Centre opening and the flea market and whatever, that obviously we're in Purda, so none of us will be involved in it, but we at least try to do a short press release about the positives of that. And on the agenda, we've got other items to do with COVID, but I know that the town clerk and Amanda and the events team are working on stuff to do with music in the market. If they could do something on our behalf, it would be really appreciated. Whether that goes in this week's paper or it would probably be appropriate, because I think showing some signs of normality is a good thing. But none of us can be involved in that, but the council carries on, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, if that's whatever, and thank you again for the report, which brings us on to the budgets. I'll just give you a few minutes to look through them rather than keep going page 1, page 2, page 3, because I don't think that's really adequate. not sure who was first there, Councillor Gately or Councillor Harvey. I'll go with Councillor Gately out of politeness. That's all right, John? Councillor Gately.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe I should have declared an interest. I'm just slightly mystified because the fair trade budget is shifting from a part of the TCE budget to us having to ask for a grant, but it's showing forward here for 5 years. And I just wondered whether that's correct or whether once we apply for a grant, this will be amended. That was all.
I think that we took that decision at Precept, I believe, and it was done then. I mean, it's in our budget, our events to work with it, but the town clerk will tell me if what I've said is factually incorrect. I think it is correct. And I'll let him give you the answer, Councillor Gately.
Yeah, so the most important figure in the budget is always the current financial year. So the current financial year, the arrangement stays as it is, and we'll move to grants from next financial year. We haven't yet changed the 5-year budget to show all the things that have been having annual grants coming out of the 5-year budget figure. So yeah, you're correct, it does look like that, but from next year, it won't be that way. We'll merge them all together. It just makes it add up for the moment until we've made those decisions.
Are you happy with that, Councillor Gately?
Yeah, thank you. I suppose because it's a big change as far as the group's concerned, I just needed to be sure what's involved. Thank you.
I think the positive from it is that once it gets into the grant procedure, it is not in a financial budget of the events committee, though we'll carry on stewarding it, and it would assure the budget for a longer period of time. So I think that was what was in the 5-year budget. But I think that's correct. And if that's answered it, we'll move on to Councillor Harvey, who's probably got a completely different question, I hope.
Yeah, completely different question. I guess my question is the Town in Bloom budget 4104 on the first page. Why is that in our budget rather than in environment?
Well, I'll explain that to you then, Councillor Harvey. Historically, the Town in Bloom is a town centre project, and it's always been in events for probably best part of 10 years. It was moved into events from environment because it was a town centre project, and the environment committee don't deal with the town centre, so it's in our terms of reference, and we basically have been looking after that budget for probably 10 or a dozen years, so it's been there for a long time. Councillor Bloomfield was always key in actually working with Amanda on getting the right flowers and everything done like that. It was something that Terry was doing. Also, the In Bloom budget does the hanging baskets, and it does the tubs in the town centre. It also does the winter tubs, and Councillor Mari will know because he's been involved in those things that it's been substantial. It's not a new thing. It's been there for a long time. Does that help?
Yeah, that helps. Can I suggest a small change? Can we call it the Town in Bloomfield budget?
Town what? Sorry, I didn't catch
Can
that.
we call it the Town in Bloomfield budget? Just as a kind of a recognition of Terry's work.
Well, actually, I think that's a rather...
And just a bit, because whenever we see it, we'll just be reminded of Terry, and it just seems like a nice thing to do.
Well, we must. I don't know whether that we can do that, but I think it's a good suggestion. I think Terry would probably be quite flattered. If he was here, he'd be embarrassed.
I know he's not here, which is why I would have suggested it anyway. But
well,
I just think
that'd be a nice way of remembering.
We can call the budget whatever we want to call it, surely. If we just call
I think we can. And Town in Bloom and Bloomfield budget. Shall we call it that so that there's no confusion?
I'm easy.
Yeah, just so people know what it is, and then we'll mark it down as Terry's work. Is that agreed? And then when anyone debates it, we can debate Terry. Councillor Margaret Gately, you've got something to say. Let's hear.
Sorry,
it.
I just didn't hear what you just said. That was all.
Well, Councillor Harvey suggested the Town in Bloomfield.
Yeah, I heard
budget.
that bit, but you then said something.
I said
Terry.
I was just suggesting hyphenating it slightly by calling it the Town in Bloom and Bloomfield budget, so that people know what it is. Obviously, I'm now going to have a discussion about grammatically incorrect things. Councillor Strain-Clark's going to correct me about my grammar now.
No. I just want to say, I hope it's minuted that, you know, it was suggested we call this the town in Bloomfield. But I believe that we don't name things after town councillors while they're still alive. Isn't that true?
You're absolutely right, as always, Councillor Strain-Clark. You are correct. As usual in these things, you are always correct on detail and procedure. I know that to my cost over the years. I think we can put a note in there that we would like to call it like that, and some recognition of Councillor Bloomfield. Well, as a compromise, can I suggest that next year, when we do the budget, we just do something in that and discuss it at a never meeting rather than go into great detail. But I think you're correct. Councillor Mahi. You're on mute, Councillor Mahi. You're back now.
I can't hear him.
We can't hear you, Councillor Mahi, for some reason. Do you want to, for some reason we're unable to hear you. Do you want to, we'll come back to you if on this item, if you regain contact with us. It's most unfortunate. Would members agree taking Councillor Strain-Clark, who's been a senior member as council's advice, and she's absolutely right. John and I were running away with the emotions of these things. Christy was relying us on the factual correctness of these things. So we put a note in the minutes that we'd love to have been able to call it that, and we leave it for the town clerk to come back with a further meeting and give us advice on how we can proceed. Would that be better? Are you happy with that, Councillor Strain-Clark?
Yeah.
As always, you're right on these things. Thank you. In which case, is there anything else on the budgets that we are concerned about? Most of it's the changes in that are within the reports in the agendas, which will be self-explanatory. Are we there? Before we move on to the next item, I just ask again, has Councillor Mari Kane managed to rejoin the meeting verbally?
No.
He's still struggling. Okay. Well, I'm sorry about that, Councillor Mari. We will come back to you at the point. He's obviously gone out the meeting now to try and rejoin.
Yeah.
In which case, are we happy to leave budgets but allow Councillor Mari to speak if he comes back? Is that agreed?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, in which case we'll move on to item 7. The Buckingham Fundraising Fair, which is down for the events coordinator to give us a report. Thank you.
Hopefully you've all read the report that's been put in, Celebrate Buckingham Community and Volunteer Fair. We've gone ahead and met with, well, we haven't met quite yet, with the Buckingham Society. The event's going to take place on the 10th of July in the paddock in Bourton Park. We've invited different fundraising groups and charities to take place. Item 2.6 on there lets you know who at the time of writing the report had signed up for it. And since then, Cancer Research UK, the Young Carers, Fair Trade, Shandos Bowls Club, West End Bowls Club and the TIC have also signed up and said that they will be coming. I've asked each organisation to do some kind of event, and the Buckingham District Angling Association are going to do maggot racing. Not quite sure how that works, but please all come along and have a go.
Well, that'll be something for the birds then, won't it?
Yeah, I think it's going to be quite exciting. We're going to give the annual Civic Awards there. It'll be the first event, fingers crossed, since we first went into lockdown last year. So we're just hoping that this can go ahead. I think it'll be fun.
Yeah, so brilliant.
Has members got any questions on the report?
No?
Only just to say that Councillor Strain-Clark.
Just one. I'm always pleased to see that there's portable toilets coming to any of our events, and I assume there's going to be an accessible toilet among them.
Oh yes, there always is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's good. I'd just like to say, thank you for that, Councillor. I'd just like to say clearly we won't put the maggot racing on before the civic event. We'll put that on later in the agenda. But on the small stage, you'll note there's a budget attached to it. You'll note that we are not so far committed most of the budget. I can imagine that may change. And will it, Amanda, if we, with the small stage and such like?
Yes, out of that remaining budget, we'll pay for the stage and any musical entertainment that we have. And for the musical entertainment, I'm going to approach local performers, give them a chance, because we've got the acoustic club and various other people that we can ask.
Councillor Donoghue.
Thank you. Could you contact the schools as well, including the primary schools, because there might be students that, you know, they're not fully back, but by that point, you know, the teachers know what kids are into music and if they've got any bands and stuff. So I think that might be a good idea to get the youngsters involved, if that's possible.
Yep.
Thank you.
Lastly, will we be doing some in a week or 10 days or a fortnight, or maybe May the 7th, perhaps is a good time to start that, doing some social media about this, so it allows members to speak about it in a more positive and promoting way. We'll plan that to be done then, but clearly social media can go on in advance of that. Announcing it now wouldn't be wrong, but can I thank Amanda and other officers who helped her work on this report, and it's nice to have something positive to say for once. We've had a lot of difficulties this year, and huge difficulties, but we seem to be moving forward, which brings us to, with the committee's agreement, Town Clerk.
I was just going to check that we're covering the recommendation in the report.
Okay, yeah, I believe that we agree. I was saying that we're going to agree the report. That meant the recommendation.
Yeah.
Is that agreed?
Happy.
I didn't just use the word recommendation, but you're quite right that we should use the word recommendation. Thank you very much. I thought I was on it then, but never mind. Yeah, it's fine. I'm just laughing. 8, Buckingham Fringe, which brings us back to another heavy report and a lot of work gone in from the events coordinator. Please give us an update.
Well, we're hoping that between Saturday the 17th of July and Sunday the 25th of July, we can go ahead and run the Fringe Week. Not online this time, but for, you know, real life. Gilroy Steel have asked if they could run their children's colouring competition again, which they've done for the last 2 years, and it's quite popular, as there's £20 prize money for the winner of the competition. So they're going to do that. They're going to launch it on the 1st of July and run it to the Sunday the 25th. The Otter Trail will take place on Saturday the 17th. Then there'll be the Family Fun Day at Lace Hill, and that's a very popular event every year. Jean Summers has asked if they could do the historic pub walk, and I think this is something that's done with Ed Grimsdale and has been popular in the past. And then we can't have a Fringe Week without the Oxford Fiddle Group, so they will be at the Radcliffe Centre on Tuesday the 20th. Last year, I don't know if any of you took part, but Mikey Dyson has been doing online quiz nights, and he's carried on with it this year. I think he calls it Isolation Quiz or something, but I think it was 4,000 people took part in the one that was in the Fringe Week last year. So he's going to come back in this year and do some more. UK Astronomy Night, I know that's something that Councillor Bloomfield and his wife like, so hopefully he'll come to that on Thursday the 22nd. That was last year, they did it online for us, but I think it was 3 or 4 years ago we had them in Bolton Park, and it was very interesting, all the equipment that he bought with us, and it was very hands-on. I'm still trying to get something confirmed for the Friday. And then on Saturday the 24th, it says music in the market, but it's not music in the market as we know it. It's going to be a scaled down version of it. I've been looking for a venue, and late this afternoon I spoke to the rugby club, and he's going to come back to me by Wednesday, and I'm hoping that we can hold the event up there. The Acoustic Club have said they're willing to run the event from 1 o'clock till 8 o'clock rather than till 10, because it being out of town. But I can give a further update later on that one. We're just waiting on the rugby club now. And then Sunday the 25th, Councillor Harvey is going to do one of his wellbeing walks, and we spoke about this at the last meeting, and it'll be similar to the ones that he's done in the past that are well attended. But
thank you very much.
Lockdown.
I don't know who was first out of that. I think it probably was Councillor Donoghue. So I'll go with Councillor Donoghue, then come to Councillor Harvey.
Thank you. It was actually John first.
Was it? Okay, but John won't mind.
It was just a question about the music in the market being held at the rugby club, and it being out of town. Is there a reason why we couldn't use the parks?
Yes.
Yes.
There's no. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, we looked at all this. We met with Councillor Gately and Councillor Harvey, and we went through all these scenarios of where we want to do it. And one of the things that is important is to have access to toilets, a safe environment where we can spread out with vehicle access, disability access, such on, so on. And we were looking at, you can see in the report, the athletic club, but that wasn't possible. So Amanda's gone for the rugby club, which is, if you've been up there, it's a large spaced area.
Yeah, I've been up there.
It meets all those requirements, and also we don't have to get involved in licensing and drinks and such like at all. Amanda, anything further than that?
Yes. Another reason we can't use the park is there's no electricity, and so we'd have to run everything off of generators. And also it would help the rugby club as well, help generate some income for them, because obviously they've been closed. But also we would have access to, well, hopefully, if they agree to us going up there, we'd have access to the bar and also the toilets. Which is something then that we haven't got to pay for.
True.
And like Robin said,
thank you for
vehicle access.
It is historically, it is a place that I have to say that I have spent some time. I was a lot fitter then, and I played my last game of rugby up there some years ago, and I realised afterwards that my playing days were sincerely over. A charity game, it's when you realise that giving up was the right thing. Councillor Harvey.
Yeah, and we can celebrate Wales winning the Six Nations Championship, of course, if we have it up there. But that aside, two things. Just to check the walk on Sunday, you put wellness in the report, Amanda. Did you mean well-being? Because we've always usually called it well-being. Yeah, you used
well-being.
Yeah. Okay, no worries. And in terms of an event for the Friday that may not take much organising, would be maybe a karaoke night in one of the pubs.
Are you suggesting you would lead that event, Councillor, because I know you're quite a keen vocalist?
I think my voice isn't as good as it used to be, but I'd happily get involved. Yeah.
Could I take the fifth on that? But would you be willing to be involved in that?
Yeah, in principle, of course, yeah.
Okay, because I know I come down to one with you many years ago, and we had it in the Fringe Festival, and it was a mild success apart from my singing. Amanda.
Yeah. First place that comes to mind is the New Inn.
Yeah, they've had it there before. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll see if Lee and Louise are willing to host that.
Councillor Gately.
Yeah, thank you. I hate to be a wet blanket, but is it going to be difficult because of the need for social distancing? I know we're supposed to be going beyond all restrictions from June the 21st, but there is not a lot of space in there, is there, for we're wanting a decent crowd of people?
I'll go back to Amanda. She may have an answer for that. Of course, we never thought of it till tonight, so we haven't really reviewed the site. So it's just a suggestion. I thank you for that, Amanda.
That's something that we'd have to discuss with the landlord there. But with all of our events, they will be run under whatever the COVID guidelines are at the time. So if for some reason, there's one event that wouldn't be able to take place for some reason, then that would be postponed. But we will follow the COVID guidelines with every single event that we do this year.
I've just noticed I'll have Councillor Rubina and then I'll come to Councillor Marek. I think he's managed to rejoin the meeting properly.
Yeah.
Councillor Rubina.
I was just wondering, with the idea of karaoke nights, would it be better to involve as many of the Buckingham pubs as possible? And it might, stop people getting all gathered in one place. We could almost do like a karaoke pub crawl. I think.
That sounds interesting. Councillor Mara's just joined us. He had some point he wishes to raise earlier. Before I go to Councillor
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, just.
The point I was trying to make was, can we not have a prize named after Terry Bloomfield when we're doing, Buckingham and Bloom?
Yeah.
Are members happy to agree that?
It's a bit weird because he's not passed away. It's like normally that sort of thing.
But I'm happy to agree that, but Councillor Strain-Clark will probably tell me technically we can't do that.
I think you probably can, but you need to ask the town, check it with the town clerk. But I think.
Well, before I come back to on this, I'll ask the town clerk whether he thinks that's possible.
It's possible. Whether it's appropriate is a slightly different question.
Yeah.
Could you let us come back to the next meeting when we've had a bit of a think and consult?
Well, we'll have both of those proposals as proposals, and we'll come back with some detail around the council's procedures.
Yeah.
I believe it was Councillor Harvey next. Was I correct? I was.
I just want to respond to Councillor Ahmed's suggestion about a karaoke crawl, as it were. The tricky bit behind that is you've got kit. You've got microphones, speakers, screens. I don't think more than one pub would be interested in running parallel karaoke nights because they're fairly esoteric events these days, and not a lot of people are interested in them. So I think having more than one pub running a karaoke session probably honestly wouldn't work. I think we might have to just go with the one, really.
The one thing which springs to mind, I'll take Councillor Strain-Clark.
Right, I was just going to come back because, if you were doing different pubs, there's always the question to me about accessibility, because really there's not much accessibility in Buckingham pubs, and certainly the New Inn, it's just not that I would dream of going to a karaoke evening, even if you paid me. You probably have to pay me actually to go away, because if I joined in, everyone would leave anyway. But I just want to bring that, because I know that we've been so good as the town council, making sure events are in accessible venues.
Well, thank you for that. I'll just throw in another idea that might be worth looking at. Busking. Make Friday a busking day, which can be spread throughout the town and can be, buskers can set up in all sorts of places through the town centre, and would give a bit of ambience to the town centre, and it could be social distance and beg your pardon, and could include lots of other people. I think that's one way round it, rather than karaoke, which does cram people into one place. Councillor Harvey.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, Robin. I think that's a really good idea. And you could also maybe even invite the bard or whoever is the bard by that point. You know, it doesn't have to be just song. It could be poetry, rap, whatever, as well. But yeah, I think performances in different parts of the town would be good. But obviously, particularly the place outside the town council chamber would be good.
But we could take it on into the evening, couldn't we? Committee, like using Councillor Ahmed's suggestion that it could go from pubs to pubs through the evening.
Okay. Like a troubadour of some kind.
Yeah, like you could have a busking day in the town centre. It could go on through the evening, invite people to go and busk outside pubs and things, just to give a bit of ambience to the whole town. Where I always film the buskers when they come down, if I'm down there, and a lot of them are really, really very good. And we could spread it throughout the town and bring many different parts of the community into doing it. I don't think it's unwieldy. So we need to, if it's agreed, we'd look at that. I think it's more workable than and more inclusive than karaoke. That would we agree as a committee to go and look at that and contact buskers and see whether we could actually do that event?
Yeah, sounds good.
That brings the best ideas of everyone together. We might even get Councillor Strain-Clark to come to that without paying her. Or she could, at least she could walk by without any offence. Is that okay? Would we agree that?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So on the Fringe thing, you note the budget's at the bottom. You'll notice that where it says to do with the acoustic club event, we're moving the budgets from one budget to another. You'll note that we don't need to discuss it, that we're taking that budget from the other budget heading of the Spring Festival, and that will be drawn down for that specific event. We will be discussing this again after May, clearly. So any changes and further reports will come forward. But on that basis, are we happy to agree the report? Thank the officers for their time in it, and bring back a further proposal on the idea of busking event and to the next committee meeting. Amanda's got her little finger waving.
Sorry, with the busking event, can we maybe agree it tonight? Because I need to get the first draft of the Fringe brochure done, and Fringe brochure goes out.
We have agreed it.
Yeah.
We have agreed it. I said the members happy to agree it, and they said yes. So then we didn't formally propose it. So I do that then for easiness for the minutes. I formally propose that we run a busking night on the Friday. Is there a seconder?
Yeah.
Right, we've got an show of hands. Okay, that's unanimous. Does that help? That gives you reassurance to go and do the work, rather than someone come along afterwards and say no. Right, thank you for that. That's really positive. With item 9, I'll allow the events deputy town clerk was going to do that, but she isn't here. I'll allow the town clerk to talk about the Good Endings Fair and the rationale behind the decision.
Thank you very much, Chair. So the recommendation is that we postpone until March 2022 in the light of COVID still going on and being an issue and people's likely sensibilities around the issue. The recommendation is to delay until a firmer March 2022, because we can't confidently recommend that we go ahead in the autumn at the moment.
Is there any members disagree with that, or are we going to agree that? Councillor Harvey?
Agreed.
Well, I would say I think it's the right decision, given that the contributors have found themselves in a state where they wouldn't be able to get involved and plan for it and so on. I think it's absolutely the right decision. But can I just affirm, it's a positive event to try and break myths and worries about death. It's utterly appropriate to a time when sadly we've had many deaths. You know, the fact of the matter is still more than 50% of people die intestate, and it's one of the reasons why this sort of event is really quite important. but it's not about, it's not about celebrating death. It's about trying to get people to recognize that, death and taxes are the two certainties of life, and we need to plan for both and plan well. That's all.
Thank you for that point, and I think it's well made. Are we as a committee happy to agree with recommendation 1 on the agenda? Is that a show of hands, please? Thank you, and thank you very much to the Deputy Town Clerk for the time she put in to report. Thank you for the Town Clerk for bringing it forward. Right, which brings us down to item 10 on the agenda, which is bounce back. It's back. You're back on the floor again, Amanda. It's your turn.
Right, as you probably all remember, the council has set aside an earmark reserve of £10,000 for bounce back events in Buckingham this year, and the Otter Trail is coming out of that. That's part of the bounce back. But also we're bringing back the Saturday entertainment that we used to have a few years ago. So there'll be entertainment in the town centre throughout the summer from various musicians and different performances, performers. There's also, and a COVID risk assessment will be take place for each and every event that we put on. And also last summer, Action for Youth put on some events throughout the town it was mostly like 12 to 18-year-olds, and it included kayaking, a lot of stuff in the skate park. And we've approached them again to see if they would be interested in doing some activities this year. And we had an email from them this afternoon, and they're putting together a provisional programme for us, and will come back to us shortly. So we're looking forward to seeing what they're going to be doing, and also having something that will cover all age groups throughout the town this summer.
Thank you for that, Amanda. Much appreciated. And thank you for the time you and your colleagues have put into this. Any members got any questions on this report? Councillor Donoghue.
Thank you. It's just a suggestion really about the musicians and the acts that you want to book. I just wondered if you have approached the Black Lives Matter Buckingham group, because they were keen to do something last year. They might have contacts as to poetry or storytelling or something like that that might be good for this particular bounce back.
Thank you for that.
I'm not the one that's actually booking the entertainment for the summer, but I will pass that on to the town centre manager.
Okay.
Thanks, Lisa.
It's okay.
Yeah. Councillor Gately.
Yeah, thank you. Just thank you for that reminder, Lisa, because I think one of the things from the diversity group was that we should try and, when we're having events, we should try and make them as diverse as we can. So that could be a good opportunity to, when we have music in the market and what's the other one we have? Bandjam. It's very often the same white faces all the time, I think. And
no, not entirely.
Not entirely, okay. But, it is an opportunity to make, to celebrate more diversity within the town and the talents within the town from a more diverse background.
Councillor Mahi.
Thank you. Well, if you're going to go that route, then let's make it diverse and not just Black Lives Matter. And let's have every other ethnic community to participate. And a point that Councillor Gately says, we are, after all, a white country, regardless of what people may say. It is still 83% white. So you can dispute it, but the fact is that we are a white country.
I think Councillor Gately, Councillor Murray wasn't trying to make an issue, and I don't think Councillor Donoghue was. I think they were trying to say that it's an opportunity to bring diversity music. Historically, almost a lifetime ago, when I first did events committee, we used to put the Transport and General Workers Band, steel band. I don't know why it was Transport and General Workers Band, but I probably but I have to declare an interest in that, as was then a member of the Transport and General Workers Union. But we used to book the steel band in the town centre, and they came for quite a number of years. And we may still have their contact. They came from Luton, I think, and we may still have their contact details on record, even if they're still in assistance, because now they'll be the Unite steel band. But if you have them, I'll have to declare a prejudicial interest because I'm a member of Unite. I'm not an active member. I just like to be a member. But we could contact those, and I think that the idea of bringing different bits in, and on the point Councillor Gately said about the music in the market, we have had reggae bands, and we've had different bands. We've had orchestras come which have been diverse, and we don't choose the acts for those events because we work in partnership with the organisations, and they pick who's available against the budget. And it's never been we haven't put a criteria into that, because when you're working in partnership with people, if you set too stiff a criteria, it tends to we're not running that. We facilitate those events, make sure the legal side of it works and everything else, and we allowed the artistic judgment to those organisations. But I think it's a point of note that we should Councillor Gately's point, that we should suggest that if possible, that they should bring different people from the community. But does that help where we are? So on that basis, are we happy to agree the recommendation within the report, and are we happy to agree that the events coordinator, in conjunction with the town centre manager, work up a press release around the street and town centre entertainment? They work closely together these days, so on lots of things. So if they work together on something about the street entertainment, because I think it's good to get that out there on our behalf. That could be something for a preceding week's press release about what's going to happen and what our intentions are, and the whole thing around getting the town centre working again.
For sure.
And the town clerk can put the legalities into that press release. Are we agreeing that?
Yeah, definitely.
On how it'll be asked, because of course we can't do that, but the council goes on. Right, well, thank you for all your contributions on that item. That's much appreciated. Item 11, we'll move forward to the Christmas lights, which is receive and discuss a verbal update, again from Amanda, who's our events coordinator. You're back on the floor again, Amanda.
It's like the Amanda show, isn't it? The Christmas Lights Subcommittee met a few weeks ago, and we looked at some different designs for Christmas lights. I've now got the mock-ups back from the companies that we've been out to. So we just need to look at those now, and then I can go out to tender. And so I can bring that back to the meeting in June. We do have until end of... Sorry, go ahead.
No, carry on. You carry on.
Yeah, we have till the end of July to get them our choices so that they can get the orders placed for us. So if I bring it back to the June meeting, we're still in plenty of time for what we want.
You've answered the questions I was going to ask. Thank you very much.
We're talking about... Okay, lovely. And also I've heard back today from Rilux, and they're going to be coming out and testing the lampposts to make sure that they're still okay for taking the weight of Christmas lights, banners and other things. So really it all depends on that report as well. If it comes back and some of the lampposts have failed, we may not get as many Christmas lights this year as usual, but obviously that's something that we'll bring back to you in June.
Thank you for that. That brings another question. If you remember that the last time they were tested was with the banners,
that's
that came from Destination Buckingham, which Councillor Smith was a leading light in Destination Buckingham, and they were tested then, which is quite a number of years ago, and we tested them before that for the Christmas lights. So are they saying that they're now due for another test? Is that what you're saying, Amanda?
Yes, because it's a 5-year test. So they were tested 5 years ago, and they came back to us last year and said they were due for testing this year. So it was agreed a few meetings ago.
That's correct.
By the committee that we'd go ahead, and I had an email over the weekend. They're coming out this week to test them, and I should have the test results by Friday. So we'll just cross our fingers there. But you were right, Councillor Stutchbury. They were tested 5 years ago because of Destination Buckingham and those big banners that they've got up on them.
Yeah.
And that's how that test came about.
Thank you. We obviously we'll wait the test reports. It won't mean that everyone fails. It will maybe the individual ones fail. And are we allowing the office to make decisions around that necessary and bring back a report, adjustments to the report around the test results, and full report to the next committee meeting where members can choose the designs?
Yep. Cool.
Thank you. That's really good, and thank you for the work that's been undertaken on that. Which brings us to item 12, which is forthcoming events. Again, we could read them through or ask Manda to read them to us, but as you can see, it's the community fundraising event that we've discussed, the Fringe that we've discussed. The only one there is perhaps we need to go back to is the play around the parishes. We booked those, Amanda?
Yep. Yeah, that was booked back in November.
Thank you. I see Councillor Harvey's got his hand up.
One thing we did, obviously not last year, but the year before, was combine the University Duck Race with one of the play around the parishes. Is that a possibility again this year?
Amanda?
I think that would be up to the committee, not up to me. Robin?
Can I say, with agreement of the members, that we look at that being a possibility if it is at all possible? Because the 1 year I went down there, I got a lovely photograph of a collection of gentlemen and the mayor on the bridge watching the ducks, which was quite a cathartic photograph, which I think I sent to one of them one day. If we can do that, it's always a good idea to share events. I see the town clerk's waving vigorously at me. Town clerk.
If that was vigorous, then.
I'm joking.
My understanding is the university aren't holding a duck race this year. I'll double check back with Dean in case they have got anything planned. So we'll keep talking to Dean. If there's anything we can link up with them, we will do. As far as I'm aware, they've got other priorities they need to get through this year.
Okay, which brings us to the circus.
Well, Councillor Harvey's got a hand on that point.
Councillor Harvey.
They do sometimes have other events on the lawn there by the bridge. They sometimes have events where the students have put together meals for people to have from all around the world. I mean, if they've got something happening and there's no fixed date, it just would be nice, because it is, the bridge is there. It would be nice for people to kind of experience both the play in the parks and whatever might be happening at the university. It's just a way of bringing things together. If we can do that, that would be great. With
the committee's agreement, shall we allow, if that's possible, in conjunction with the officers, to do anything in conjunction with the university around a date that we can book them, because they're not that flexible. You have to book them well in advance, and the university is great, but the children are greater, and we must make sure that they're the priority. And if it does work with them in some way, that's where we'd go, if at all possible. Because it's about the children, and it was a shared event. It may have been that the two dates came inside very well, but we need to just get on and book them. I see Councillor Donohue's got a hand up, and we'll take her, and then I'll come back to you, John, if that's okay.
Thank you. I thought that Amanda said that they'd already been booked back in November, and from memory, the duck race just happened to be on the same day as our play around the parishes. It wasn't a joined event, it was an accident. That it was just the two things happened at the same time. So I'm taking John's point on board. It might be a good idea to find out what timetable the university have got, what events, if any, that they are doing this year, because if they're not doing a duck race because they're going to be too bogged down with COVID and students and stuff, they might not be doing any at all. But we could at least find out and help them publicise their events, because we do work in partnership with them as well.
I'll come back to John and then we'll close this down, if that's okay. John?
Yeah, just to say that the duck race combination with Play in the Parks, that was by design, with the Pontio group spotting the opportunity to bring something together. So it wasn't just happen chance, it was done by design. And I'm not saying we change the dates, because obviously, as Amanda has said, she has booked these dates. But if the university happens to be doing something at the same time, that would be great. Or if they happen to have flexibility and can do something on the same date, that would be great. That's all I'm saying.
I think we pretty much covered it then, because we're going to contact Dean and see what's going on. Amanda's got a thing up and she's going to probably take that on board. I think we pretty much covered that we have a will to want to work together, but we can't change the dates that we booked. Is that correct, Amanda?
Yes. One thing I was going to say is that Play Around the Parishes is organised by Buckinghamshire Council, and we pay for that event. And so if the university were to run an event on the same day, I'd like to see them get more involved with what's going on in Chandos Park, rather than encourage the people from Chandos Park to go across the bridge to the university, which I think happened last time. I don't think there was much interaction in Chandos Park with Play Around the Parishes.
Okay, well, let's leave it there and not go round again with it. And Amanda will bring us an update to the next committee meeting. The town clerk will contact what's going on in the university, if there's any additional whatever. But maybe what we need to do as a suggestion is just the university know our schedule of events, and they are pretty much annual, and the university can partner and join in any one of our events anytime they want to. We'll welcome them. Would that be agreed?
Yeah.
Okay, well, it brings us on to the Friday the 13th, which isn't a great date, is it? Which is the circus on Friday the 13th, TBC.
Last year we had met with not last year, the year before, 2019, we'd met with a circus group, and they were going to come to Buckingham last August. Obviously, because of COVID, they couldn't, and looks like they're going to be back touring again for the summer. And they would like to come to Buckingham on those dates, the 13th to the 15th of August. They will set up in the paddock in Bourton Park, and they will obviously operate by whatever COVID rules are in place at the time. So instead of an audience of maybe 360 people, it might be a smaller audience. But that's something that we will talk to them about, as time goes on, because with all events, we don't know what the restrictions are going to be, if any, by June, July, August time. Yeah. But we'll update you at the next meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Gately.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sure we discussed this previously, but there are no acts involving animals. That's right.
Correct.
No.
Correct. I knew you were going to say that, and it's the usual thing with the circus. I think these are performing arts and people performing, juggling, bouncing, bit of tightrope walk, whatever, all which councillors are very welcome to take part in. And tightrope walk is probably the most appropriate one for us all. But that's what it was. We wouldn't, as a council, we discussed that all endlessly in the past. We're not likely to want performing animals in the town. That's something that we wouldn't support because of the obvious reasons, Councillor Gately. So that will allow that to take place. Can I have a show of hands that we're happy with that?
Yep.
Thank you. Which brings us to a great opportunity on Monday the 16th of August, open air theatre, which you will recall is going to take place at the church. This is going to be Alice in Wonderland, I believe, was it? Which is and two performances, which we hope to get it in the Fringe, but it wasn't going to take place in the Fringe. but we found it was such a good event to take place anyway that we're going to put it in August, because it's for young people to take part with families, and the church is such a good venue for it and the backdrop for it.
Yeah.
Anybody got any concerns about that, or are we just happy to agree that?
Yep, I'm happy.
Councillor Gately.
A silly query, really. When you say the church, you mean Church Green, do you?
Correct.
Yes.
Talking about an open air event. Yeah.
It's an open air event, and the reason we took the church is it's a good backdrop for a stage. It's also got toilets. It's also got a safe environment for young people to be, like we do fence it there. It's a known risk, and it's got the space if the restrictions are such that we can do COVID spacing, and allow families to have squares and such like. And to be honest, we were just enthusiastic to get something for young people up there, and I think we've all been through the looking glass for 12 months. I think it'd be nice to appear out the other side of it now.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and clearly we'll bring back an update on it, but we're all happy with that, aren't we? It's a positive. Right. With that, we'll go on to Bandjam. I think Amanda got a few words around that because she's probably had some meeting with Mr. Lee Maloney about that, about getting it up and running in August. I noticed Reading are selling tickets for Reading Rock Festival, so they're hoping that it's going to go up and running. So obviously, having been to Reading, I have to declare a prejudice on many occasions. I did go there once or twice. But I now attend Buckingham. So Amanda.
Yeah, the day that they announced Reading Festival was going ahead, I had an email overnight from Lee Maloney, who runs Bandjam, and he said, Reading's allowed to go ahead, can we run Bandjam? So we've said yes. I haven't met with him yet because he's been busy working, but he said after the 17th of May, we can have a meeting with him, because then he'll be back, obviously, with the pub. He's doing his other job at the moment. But yeah, all being well, Bandjam will go ahead as usual. But we'll see how it all goes.
That's excellent news, and I can wander around the town centre talking to people again, as I normally do at Bandjam. It's just such good news to be doing some live music in the town centre again. It's been such a difficult year. Of course, we all know that we're bound by the COVID restrictions, but we're planning to be positive, and Lee's planning to be positive. And if Reading can go ahead, Buckingham can, I believe, and that's got to be a good thing. And my musical desire is large to have some loud music back in the town centre. So are we happy for that to go ahead? All rules apply, and clearly it'd be nice for whoever he or she is mayor to have something to open for once. Right, which brings us back to the 12th of September dog show. Amanda?
Yes, all being well again, the dog show will take place as usual in the paddock in Bourton Park. And if the number of entries are anything like we had online last year, it'll be a good event. And Councillor Bloomfield has been involved in the dog show in the past, as well as Councillor O'Donoghue. So hopefully, Lisa, you'll carry on this year.
Oh, definitely.
I've got some lovely photographs of both of them in the park, in their tents and their perceptive thing. Let's hope that this year somebody got, was it you, Amanda, or Lisa got stung by a bee? But let's hope that doesn't happen again.
That was me.
Yeah.
Let's hope that doesn't happen again.
I could probably try and rope Terry in again. I'm sure he'd love to help out, because he's got a dog and he's interested in all of that. So if you guys are happy for me to ask him, I'm pretty sure he'd be more than willing to help. He's great on the table, isn't he?
Yeah, Councillor Bloomfield has told me several times that even though he's standing down, he will be around to help at events. All I've got to do is phone him. So yeah, we haven't lost him really.
No, he'll come along and support us, which is great, really, because we won't have to explain to him what's going on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right, which is all positive and good. can we agree tonight that post-election, whatever, we'll start working on some positive outflowings about what we're going to do, with careful explanations around the events, about the safe distancing. But I do think we need to start talking about the open air theatre event, perhaps maybe in the beginning of June, would that, or mid-May? Probably start talking about that in mid-May to make sure we actually market it well enough, and we'll bring back some information around the costs of that, if possible, to the committee, because one of the things with these events, it is a pay event, so we'll bring back some costs for details to a future meeting, but we'll start promoting that event in June. Is that agreed?
Yeah, we should start promoting all the events at the appropriate times, not just one.
I mean, the reason Councillor Donahue, the reason I'm saying June is we are working our way through a wind out, and we'll know a little. What I won't want to do is oversell an event until we know what the rules are. We may know a little bit more about what the guidance is. That's why I'm saying June. If we say now, and people will ask all the obvious questions about guidance and attending, and we won't know what the rules are but by June, we'll pretty much know what the rules are in July and August, I think.
Yeah.
And that's fair enough. That's what my rationale was. So
Yeah,
are we happy to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, Amanda?
Yeah, sorry. One problem that I'm going to run into with each event that we're putting on outside is the event management plan and the risk assessment, because obviously each one is different for each event, and it will change as we go through the different stages of the lockdown or coming out of lockdown. So that's something that I've got to think about carefully, and how we're going to word them, because if they go to the safety advisory group and don't get approved, that's the end of that event.
Yeah.
So we've got to watch very carefully what we're doing and make sure that we're following all the guidelines.
But the committee knows that we have a good reputation in the safety advisory group, and through the work of officers and Amanda, and over the years, they trust our actions because we've always met every requirement ever asked of us. So we are in a good position.
We've got faith in Amanda.
Yeah. With all that, we'll move on to item 13, review of events, which obviously the Pancake Race couldn't take place. The Commonwealth Day took place. Amanda?
With the Pancake Race, because it couldn't take place, we did something online. We asked members of the public and businesses what their favourite or most unusual pancake filling was. So we had some quite interesting entries, and it was just something fun. There weren't any prizes awarded or anything like that. It was just a little bit of fun for people. Commonwealth Day, we went ahead and raised the flag as usual. And then we had a message from the Mayor, Councillor Geraldine Collins, that was recorded and shown over social media. What else we got? Day of Reflection, that was on the 23rd of March, and that marked the National Day of Remembrance for victims of the coronavirus pandemic. And you've probably seen the yellow ribbons that are hanging on the cattle pen railings. Yep. And that was for that. Those ribbons will be coming down tomorrow, in case anybody wondered. And then we don't normally do anything for Easter, but this year we did a bunny hunt. It wasn't a real bunny, it was pictures that had been put up around the parks, and it was like a little trail for people to follow. Once again, there were no prizes awarded for that. It was just something a little bit fun for people to do, to get them out and about. Can
we record our thanks for all that and move swiftly into item 14, noting that was difficult times and we're hopefully moving to better times. Item 14, which is the climate action report, which won't actually open on my day. Oh, yes, it has. Climate action report. Are members happy to note this report? Councillor Gately's got a hand up, so we're not happy to note it. Councillor Gately.
Thanks. Just a query, really. Under item 14 at the end, it says to be discussed further under agenda item 15. I assume that should have been removed. Is that correct?
You're right, Margaret. I thought you might spot that. Yes, that should have been taken out because it doesn't relate to access, which is item 15.
I've got a shocking reputation now, I know.
No, not at all. Not at all, Councillor Gately. It's really good. This is what you should do: is pick things out and say what it is. It's the right thing to do. Ignoring them is the wrong thing. Just on item 14, if members remember that we had a discussion about organising, because we couldn't do the litter pick before because of COVID, and then we couldn't do the litter pick because we didn't really want to do it during an election period. That we thought that, or just before the election, we thought we might get a lot of people turn up for photographs and such like. So what we were thinking of doing is doing something probably post-election as a bonding exercise with councillors, new councillors involved in something. Would it be agreeable that we look at that? We've got sort of during October, but we do the river rinses and that. But I think the litter pick perhaps is something we could do sooner, after May the 7th, and bring members together as a way of meeting each other, socially distanced, talking, because new members won't know the council and older members won't necessarily know the new members, and it could be something really quite good to go off and just have a talk and pick up some rubbish together and help you fill in some blanks and start forming a good friendly relationship. Councillor Try, your hand's up. You're on mute, Councillor Try. You've got to unmute. That's it.
Thank
You're
you.
unmute.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me. Do we know how many times action number, whatever is it, 3, that the climate change has been downloaded at the moment?
I'm happy to do that, but can we come back to that, if that with your agreement, Councillor Try, just to answer the question over whether we were happy to look at the possibility of doing a litter pick event with new members. And
yeah,
then
yeah, of course, yeah. Just keep it
okay?
Just keep it in mind, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, is that okay? I'll come back to you, I promise. Councillor Andinari.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, well, I agree with you, but we can also have a meet at the Bandjam and do a litter pick then, and have a bonding session with the new councillors.
Andy, you know well that who picks litter up at the Bandjam, which is you, Andy. Yeah, let's use that as a second bonding event. But I really want to try and get councillors meeting each other, because I think it's a good opportunity. Would you not agree, to get some bonding done? Because we know of new councillors standing, and we've lost some valuable councillors, and I just think that something like that is such a good opportunity. We could pair people up with a previous councillor and a new councillor, so that they could just ask questions about what it's like to be a councillor and that type of thing, while they're picking up rubbish and doing something virtuous. Because there is plenty of rubbish out in the town, and we've also had our team clearing the parks out, haven't we? So what I'm hoping is, would that be a positive thing to research to see whether we agree in, and then have a second day? I take Councillor Mari's point on completely, that the second pickup litter day will be at Bandjam, and that would be a good opportunity, because to be fair, the last time we did Bandjam, we had a really good turnout of councillors who just actually turned up just to, I think Councillor Gately actually came down just to pick the rubbish up, actually, and different members, but it is a good opportunity. You also get the privilege of meeting people at the end of the day, which is also another privilege. So, and I think Councillor Mari and I are usually the last two to leave, aren't we? That event.
Yes.
When everybody's gone home. But is that, are we agreed that? And then I must come back to Councillor Try. Is that agreed?
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, Councillor Try.
Well, as I said before, do we know any figures on the download of the climate plan?
I don't.
Okay.
Our committee clerk seems to know.
I don't know the exact figures. I can certainly find them out for you and circulate them. It would be figures of people that have accessed that particular page. So the page itself has a number of hyperlinks that you can then go on from. So the original idea was perhaps that we would form some sort of document that you could download. That information is now available on our webpage. So yes, so I'll find out the numbers that have visited the webpage and then I can forward that on to committee. But I think perhaps we need to change the wording on the action plan to take out the word download because it's not technically something you download.
Thank you very much, and thank you for change. Yes, we need to update that then if that's the case for visited rather than downloads.
Yeah.
Are members happy to note this report and bring it back to the next committee with any further updates?
Yep.
And thank officers for doing it. This is, as we all know, this is appearing on all our agendas. And can I ask through the town clerk that can we just make this part of the councillor's induction to explain the history around the whole history around this, because of course it came out of the motion from Councillor Ruth Newell to council, and that we're going down this way. So a little explanation in the introduction pack why we're doing this would be a good thing, saving the obvious questions, why are we doing this at the next committee meeting that they attend, and having to explain everything 10 times over. Are you happy with that, town clerk?
Yeah.
Thank you. Right, okay. So we've done that event review, which brings us on to one of the more important items on the agenda, which I must say, Councillor Strain-Clark's been, without Councillor Strain-Clark, access wouldn't have been such a prominent part of our agendas. For a whole time on the council, she's fought for equality of access to events, disability access, and actually she's made it so that we do discuss these things. So on that, I'll pass over to Councillor Strain-Clark.
Well, thank you very much, Chairman of the committee, Councillor Stutchbury. I haven't really got anything to say at all today, I'm afraid, because although I've just had my second COVID jab this morning, I'm really waiting for the next, 3 weeks from the jab, and then, you won't stop me going to everything.
Brilliant. I look forward to seeing you.
And keeping an eye on what the council's doing in my absence.
Thank you. The one thing that I think we need to consider with access, there's preliminary discussions taking place around possible changes to the town centre discussions. I think we need, they're only suggestions at the moment. They haven't come forward in any formal text about pedestrianisation or whatever. We just need to, if there's any further discussions around that post-May, I think we need to have as we're the town centre committee, whoever's on the committee post-May, we need to have an update brought forward on those discussions. I think the appropriate place on the agenda to put it would be on access, because if those proposals in any way interfere with access, it should be discussed, and the economy issues around it can be discussed then. So we asked for an update to come from the economy working group stroke community board working group on that, to come back to a future events committee to be discussed under access, so that and maybe when that actually comes through, we invite a member of access for all to the committee meeting to speak on behalf of that, so that we get that all taken into consideration at that meeting. It may be the next meeting or the one after, maybe, as it happens, but I think it needs to be discussed in an open forum.
Yeah.
Would that be a good way forward?
Yeah.
And after, you know, thank you. Right, which brings us on to 16.
Town clerk's got a hand.
Town clerk.
Yeah, Robin, just on that, I was going to give just a brief verbal note. Now that we're not going ahead with Access Able, we do have a budget this financial year of £2,000 for Access with the committee. At the moment, I don't have any recommendations for that money. We might be able to do something to the tourism website to put information on about accessibility, but that would not cost anything like £2,000 if that's what we do. So it's just for something to members to think about. If you've got any ideas, let us know and we can work out recommendations for a future meeting. It's not for a decision now, but it's to think about for the future.
Thank you for that, Town Clerk. Well, because of those decisions we took, can I ask that to make sure we actually proceed, can we make Access for All aware of that situation, that we're looking to do something, and can we, Amanda and the town centre manager, have a discussion with you about things that we could do and bring forward a report which is inclusive of Access for All and whatever, rather than come up with strange ideas which then we put in place that don't actually work. And have a sort of, and maybe that report will come to either a future meeting, the next one or the one after. I think the next meeting, it'll be a learning curve for members, so perhaps the meeting after that would, which probably be June, July time. Would that be appropriate? That gives officers a chance to prepare something and speak to Access for All. And I think we need the town centre manager involved in it, because there's commercial access to the markets, and Amanda from an events point of view. Would that be virtuous? And then we can actually do something with the money rather than just pick something out of the air. Is that agreed? I propose it? Is someone going to second it so that we can? Right, a second. Can we vote on that? Okay, that's agreed. Then we can move that forward. Right, which brings us to twinning. Unless there's something additional that didn't get brought up when we were discussing it, we are still waiting for Europe to be in the same position that we are, or vice versa, on COVID. And we've made those discussions about keeping Councillor Strain-Clark involved. We pretty much discussed press releases throughout the agenda, but I think it's appropriate that members, if they feel there's something that they wish we've missed that they think is important. So I'll give you a minute on that. Okay, right. That brings us on to IT 18, Chairman's items. Well, can I personally thank all the committee for the work they've done over the 12 months. And I think you've through difficult times, you've steered us through a good path and allowed enough brevity and goodwill. We've managed to do a lot in COVID that we wouldn't have done without officers working so closely together to do the impossible, which is to carry on events. And I thank you for the decisions throughout the years, which has put us in a position where we could do the COVID bounce back, which with the decisions of the committee. And I thank you all for the seriousness you take the subject. And I look forward to the next meeting on the 21st of June, where it will be a new committee of members who wish to be part of it. And at that meeting, we'll be able to bring an agenda forward, which I think, based upon tonight's meeting, is a positive and a progressive future for Buckingham. And with that, I wish you all well. Those who are not being elected so far, I wish you all the best. And those that are elected, I look forward to seeing you on the town council after the election. And I wish everyone who isn't